Hey guys, welcome back to 45 News Utah. We're going to discuss a topic that was brought up today on KSL about our ground-based nuclear deterrent systems. So this was brought up. I watched a video on it. Over the past, I'd say 5 years, 4 years, okay, into the Obama administration, there was tons and tons of Russia this, Russia that, Russia, to the point where we were in battle in Ukraine, giving arms to the Ukrainians and advisors and all this stuff with the Russian military inside Ukraine. Now, during this time, just to give you guys an idea of what happened with Russia, they had major advancements in their thermonuclear warhead deterrent system, or an offensive system too. Remember, these systems are deterrent and offensive. So during this time, they developed Satan II nuclear warheads, or nuclear missiles, which were delivery systems that delivered 15 supersonic glider nuclear warheads. Once they reached their designated height, in the atmosphere, they just released them all, and they will go throughout on their trajectory towards their target. They're very accurate. Russia's nuclear missile systems are now mobile. As far as their land-based nuclear missile systems, I don't know if they're really fully functional. They do have them. They're much like us, but they do have a vast amount of mobile nuclear warheads at this time, and they're upgraded. So just remember that while Victoria Nuland was pushing Russia in Ukraine, the United States had 1950s technology nuclear warheads. So just think about that for a minute. At the brink, the possibility of a nuclear war was there. 2014, and with all the Russia, and the problems we've had in Syria, with Russia taking over and backing Assad, and America just, funding this and funding that. Can't talk about it on the news, but the entire time the United States government has left the people vulnerable to a nuclear attack, thinking that we had a strong nuclear deterrent, that at the event of a nuclear war we can at least strike back with effectiveness. Well, to get into the story today, our nuclear ground-based systems are old. They're 70 years, 72 years old, 71 years old. Okay, the last time they were upgraded was during the Nixon administration. So you got to really put that into context. Why has our nuclear deterrent system, our triad nuclear system, which is sea, air, and land, been lacking so dramatically on our land nuclear silos, and to be engaged in activities against a nation that is heavily nuclear armed with advanced nuclear weapons? The entire time the United States was pulling a bluff. We have systems that if they were hit twice back in the 50s with a Russian-made Soviet nuclear warhead, a intercontinental ballistic missile, which we're talking about is ICBM'S, that means continent to continent, their accuracy at that time would probably ensure the survivability of our silos. Now we have over 400 missiles based throughout the northern plains in groups through Montana, Wyoming, Colorado. They would be easy targets for a thermonuclear attack. They are not spread out wide enough. They're known to the entire general public. I imagine we have a few more kicking around, but these are 1950s technologies. This is not even modern enough to even put in the Vietnam War. This is what we have been left with our nuclear deterrent. So while they're propagating these battles across the world, backing us with this nuclear deterrent, now people say, well, we don't need nuclear weapons anymore. Okay, well, they have them, and they are more advanced than ours, China and Russia. That's not a joke. That's true. They are becoming more advanced every day, while we have been sitting there pushing our weight around the world using a very aged and possibly, I'd say, technologically inferior nuclear deterrent. I mean, what have they left us with? That's the question of the day, with the amount of hypocrisy that the United States has perpetrated across the globe. I mean, we were at odds with Russia to the point where there was former Soviets, former everybody coming out saying we are closer to nuclear war now than we ever have been. And I know nobody wins. I know in a nuclear war nobody wins. But the best case scenario is the United States says we have very deadly, updated nuclear weapons that could take out an entire country the size of Russia, which is a huge landmass. Truth of the matter was, though, we had 1950s technology intercontinental ballistic missiles in silos that are 71 years old or 70 years old at the time. Okay? That's just to put that in context. Scary proposition. Scary. Okay? They're now, looks like that Grumman, what was the name of that? Northrop Grumman, whatever, company is now going to be building 5 new buildings in Utah to rebuild the intercontinental ballistic missile delivery systems. They're offering 1,300 jobs that they have today, and they're doing 100 more per month until they have thousands of people working, rebuilding these thermal nuclear intercontinental ballistic missile delivery systems, not the nuclear warhead themselves. They're going to use the same aging nuclear warheads that were made back in the 1950s or upgraded during the 1950s during the Nixon administration. This whole project's going to cost $53 billion. We just spent $1.9 trillion. We spent $5.3 trillion before that. The entire time, we have been let down by our government. Now, I understand nobody wants nuclear war. I really get that. Don't get me wrong. But the issue isn't about do we want nuclear war. The issue is what kind of maniacs do we have in charge of this country? And have we had in charge of this country? These people have been beating the drums of war like we have some kind of technology that we could destroy an entire country in a matter of seconds, which we didn't, and we don't. We had aging nuclear warheads that probably couldn't back what they're saying. We're talking these things are that old. Okay? Now, I understand they could go, well, they could launch those missiles and just destroy each other. But just like was stated on KSL, the Russian nuclear systems were inaccurate at the time in the 50s. Okay? So that's just to the Russians. This is like, so the U.S.'s ground-based nuclear weapons are very inaccurate. Or we've upgraded their guidance systems now. Well, we're using a 70-year-old, 71-year-old nuclear delivery system, which, hey, I understand that. But the Soviets were continually building arms. They were saying, okay, we're getting rid of these arms, blah, blah. But they were upgrading their technologies through the 60s, 70s, and 80s, up until we brought the wall down. The United States apparently has been doing very little to its nuclear deterrent. Now, those of us old enough to remember Star Wars, that was brought about. We heard about Star Wars. It was, what was his name? The president at that time. Oh, heck, I just keep thinking, getting off on the subject of nuclear weapons. We had Ronald Reagan as president. Gorbachev was their president. Reagan talked about the Star Wars nuclear system that was going to be sent up into space, and the Russians figured, hey, we can't fight a nuclear war from space. Once they drop them straight down on us, we're done. Gorbachev seen what was happening in his country, seen the young people listening to rock. He wanted to bring the wall down and thought it'd be the best thing for his country, for his people, to unite East and West Germany. A lot of you that are too young to remember this don't remember the wall, the Berlin Wall. We do. Okay? Very tense times as kids. Even in the 80s, they're 30-year-old systems. Now we're looking at 70-year-old systems, 71-year-old systems. Okay? Pretty scary. So this new contract that's going into northern Utah to build these new delivery systems and get them up to date it's going to be done throughout the next few years. Okay, it's going to cost $53 billion. My whole thought on this is there's a group that are saying, oh, let's not do this. This is ridiculous. Thermonuclear war is nobody wins. And then you got the other group saying, hey, you know what? We really got to upgrade these things. This should have been done a long time ago. This is just dumb. We without that nuclear deterrent, where would we be today? That's our ultimate, don't mess with us. I'm the alligator or the bear with the giant teeth. Bear. Saying Russia. Well, Russia was the bear. Okay. But that was what deterred a massive invasion of the U.S. homeland, was the fact that we have thermonuclear weapons. We can end a conflict across the globe in a matter of 30 minutes. We could take an entire country and turn it to a radioactive wasteland. That is what our enemies, which are numerous, understand, or knew, or thought. Now, with this admission on even KSL, that our technologies are completely outdated. Now, just to put that in perspective, with all the warmongering that the Obama administration did, some during the Trump, and now back into the Biden administration, where he tells Russia, you're going to know pretty soon what we're going to do to get you back for that wind turbine hack. The whole while, the entire aging nuclear deterrent system that's our intercontinental ballistic systems are so old that people that are 70 don't even really weren't even old enough to when they weren't even born when they built these things. See how this is playing out? Not to be the gloom and doom guy, but the truth needs to come out to people. Everybody needs to understand the truth. You don't need to be in the blind, sitting back saying, hey, well, if it ever comes down to war with Russia, to tell you what, they're going to get there. No. This is, they have painted us into a corner. And Russia's painted us into a corner, whichever way you stand on this. But the problem is Russia, sanctions. The Biden administration needs to sue for peace now. Just now. The United Kingdom needs to turn their ships back. We need to not be putting ships into the Black Sea to test Russia. We don't need to be pushing this anymore. This is done, guys. We have aging and completely outdated intercontinental ballistic missiles. This is the truth that we've been waiting for. And somebody just spilled it by talking about the new contracts to rebuild our delivery systems for intercontinental ballistic missiles. So if you're the Russians and you've been getting beat up politically to gain votes, and Russia this, and Russia that, and all the stuff that went on in Syria, and all the stuff that went on over there in Ukraine, and you've been just sitting there like Vladimir Putin and saying, you guys are dumb, he apparently knew that our systems are outdated. Okay, we sit back and say, well, Russia doesn't have modern weapons. Yes, they do. They modernized their nuclear arsenal. They keep saying, we're going to modernize, seen them on TV even. So if the Russians are talking about it on television with their State 2 delivery systems, whether it be a deterrent and a lie, they have not been stuck in a $14 trillion war called the Middle East of expenditures in every direction, breaking our national defense down, much like what happened to them back in the 80s, 70s when we stuck them, or 60s, we'll see the war in Afghanistan. We stuck them in the same boat, and this is what brought about the fall of the Soviet Union. Now, Afghanistan is a place where nations go to die. They go to war in Afghanistan, they lose every time. It's an unconquerable place. It has been since history, since they ever been devised as a nation. You look at what happened with the Russians. They got their trash stomped, just like us. We funded the Mujahideen against the Russians, and we basically formed the Taliban by doing that. Eventually, we turned on the Mujahideen, and now they've turned on us and become that. So, but the issue was we had weapons at that time that were advanced. The nuclear deterrent we had, called the Intercontinental ballistic missile, the most threatening and dangerous, devastating, earth-destroying weapon known to man, which was done by the Manhattan Project, which we were in the race with the Soviets, which were basically conquering everything that we haven't protected in Europe through Stalin's mass marches into the gulags, killing millions of his own people. Untold horrors he did to the Germans after they surrendered. The things that the Soviets did during that time, we had to beat them to the nuclear deterrent. That's what stopped them. Okay? Now we have the same two foes facing off again. Last time the Russians backed down and we tore the wall down. They tore the wall down. Look what happened to Russia. This time the United States has overstretched itself extremely. We got hit with a massive pandemic that completely crippled our financial systems and relied us on all this fake fiat currencies running our entire country. We had become the laughing stock of the entire world. The entire world. Everybody's laughing at us. Okay, maybe not Germany. They're just as backwards as we are now, and parts of Europe. But we lost that edge. And always remember, when you're at your weakest point, your enemies will attack. It's just, they have to decide now, is this a time? I'm talking Russia and China and Iran and North Korea. Is this a time that the United States is at its weakest? This is where the military needs to be thinking, okay, we just admitted our systems are outdated, horrible, 70-year-old systems. That's our backbone. We do have air and sea, but that's our backbone, is the ICBM'S. We just admitted this. And if it got picked up by our enemies, which they probably already know, and we've been through this COVID massive theft, kleptocracy, our nation's internally divided to the point where I don't know where we're going to end up. Honestly, I don't know what the end goal of this entire situation is. And I would dare say that if the United States survives as anything of its former self, would be a miracle. We're already seeing rights and speech and everything else, and people being attacked, and just based on race or skin color, there's this massive division between everybody all of a sudden, which would be a great orchestration of an internal war perpetrated by the enemies of the United States. And I'd say everything from the top to the bottom. And I'm not an analyst. I'm not a guy a military analyst. I'm not a military, any kind of a, top brass or any kind of, paid or educated person to understand the workings of the U.S. military and espionage. But I can dang well guarantee that our enemies know that we are about as united as a jigsaw puzzle, and that our systems are outdated, and that some of our jets are flawed, that we're extremely in debt. We cannot afford a war anywhere, anytime, anyhow. We have now expended the debt to an untold amount of money that we can't even possibly fathom. Maybe get an idea of how much. That's nothing to say what the truth is. The U.S. dollar is sinking as we speak. The price of beef's going through the roof. Our packing plants are being hacked. Our transit systems are being hacked. Our pipelines are being hacked. Numerous other hacks happening across the country. I would say, I would be point blank to Joe Biden. This monster that has been created has happened under all of your eyes. The United States is not the most powerful country in the world anymore. We are now rivaled by Russia and China. And if we falter in this, and we don't put these new ICBM'S out, and I mean today, if we don't upgrade our systems, our nuclear deterrent systems, we could become shadows on the wall. With one action, one mishap throughout the globe. We've been doing military drills over Europe, enticing the Russians, showing them our strength, doing it in Ukraine on the border of Russia, showing them how strong we are. Meanwhile, this has been happening. We have a military that's at the ready. The men and women of the United States military would fight and die generations before, and these new generations. But we're too busy fighting about equal everything for everybody all the time. We're starting to fight about, I see commercials about Army recruitment videos. When this becomes what it is, this has been built by certain people and government entities inside the United States. As this has been orchestrated. And on the other side, Putin hasn't been playing games, guys. It's one thing about old Vlad. He knows what he has, and he knows what we have. And the loudest, most obnoxious person in the room is usually the weakest. Instead of strength through diplomacy, strength through communication, we've sanctioned and badmouthed them, and mainstream media is to blame if this turns into something catastrophic. MSM, mainstream media, has orchestrated and pushed the Russia narrative to take Trump out. Now, the problem is you beat up the big bully that can actually beat you up. He just lets you hit him. And now that Joe Biden goes to meet with Vladimir Putin, Vladimir might look at him and say, we don't care what you guys say anymore. We know what you have. You beat up on us enough. Just like he said, try to take a bite out of Russia, you're gonna get it. You're gonna get your teeth knocked out. So, in a nutshell, this administration is probably worse than any administration we've ever had. On the fact that they have used the wrong country with the inadequate systems that we have to pick a fight. And now they've been hit by us with sanctions and threats, and now they're hitting us back, which could be all the hacking. All the hacking you guys are seeing, all the stuff that's going on that everybody's like, well, why is the meat price going up? Because they hacked all the packing plants. Well, that might have been a show by Russia just saying, we can shut you down globally. They already shut down one of our destroyers a few years ago and showed us they can fly a MiG, an unarmed MiG, around our most advanced destroyer and shut it down. Just completely shut it down. Just like that. Can't push no systems, defense systems, nothing. They basically scuttled an entire, the U.S.'s #1 top-rated, most advanced destroyer we had, and they shut it down in 30 seconds. So where are we going to be now? Where are we going to be, guys? We poked the bear in the eye. Russia, 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 Russia. Thanks, CNN. Where are we going to be? Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. That's just the update on this. If you want to check out that article, it's on Fox News, Utah. You check it out for yourself and see what I'm talking about. And you can do the homework on this. Why certain people are against it. Why would we be announcing where our systems are? Why would we be announcing the upgrades we need to do to our nuclear systems? Why is this information being released to the public? Is anybody basically in charge anymore? Or have we already given up? Have we already lost the war with Russia and China? Thanks for watching, guys. 45 News Utah. Just a quick update. Sorry about the other two videos, by the way. I had to erase them. One of them was for Walk the Old Ways and the Peace Congregation, which is two different things I'm starting now. If you did watch that video, it's up to you what you guys believe. But I do believe, I am a Christian, and I do believe in Jesus Christ as our Savior. So if you're offended by that, I'm sorry. Everybody has a right to their opinion. And you guys have a great day. Thank you for watching.